Morris, you're watching Bosun Dan Bushcraft, and today we're inside my rather dark garage. That's what we're going to be doing. Is a bit of a refurb on this old fella, one of the old Tilley lamps. Anybody who's watched my video on bushcraft lighting will have seen me use these before. I've got three other things. This one is in a bit of a bad way, in a sense. It's not too bad overall, but in a sense it is in a bit of a bad way. Mantle's gone, there's no problem there. Mantles are cheap and they only last so long anyway, but it's got a dirty great crack in the glass, so that's kippered, that's going. But also, it's leaking paraffin everywhere. The whole thing is just leaking paraffin out of it, so I've no idea whether the actual vaporizer on it is still in good order or not. I've got a new one of those just in case it's not, but I can't tell whether it is or it isn't at the moment, simply because when I try and use it, it absolutely just bleh with paraffin everywhere, which is no good whatsoever. So all we're going to do is change all the seals, get a new mantle on it, stick a new glass in it, get it running, see if that vaporizer is actually working. So first things first, we need to strip it apart. Now, the good thing about these particular lamps, I had a roll of blue roll somewhere. The good thing about these particular lamps is they are designed pretty much to be pulled apart by hand, no tools really required. But this one is quite old, I've no idea when it was last taken apart or anything done to it, which means you can guarantee some things are going to be a little bit stiff. They aren't going to move by hand, so enter the secret weapon, if that works. Anyhow, let's start stripping this thing, see what's what and what's broke. Right, now, these things all come apart rather easily, or they're supposed to anyway. You can see there you got that bottom ring there, and that bottom ring holds the cage to the actual fuel tank. That little gizmo there is what's holding the whole thing together as you pick it up and walk around with it. Your centre stem there has got the pickup at the bottom of the tube that actually lifts the paraffin up into the vaporizer. So all of this needs to basically be unthreaded. That threads out separately to this, so we should be able to just unthread that with a bit of pressure. There we go. There we are. There is said pickup tube. I don't think that there is actually a seal at the bottom of that. The seal should just be there around that one there. Let's have a look. Nope, no rubber tube there. Now, at this point, there really is. I really don't have any need to. I really don't have any need to actually take the tank off the bottom of it. There's no point. There is no seal in between that and that, so there's no point taking that off. All the seals are in here now. I believe it is leaking through the vaporizer seal. Ain't no way that that is going to come off quite as nicely, he says, as it literally just unthreads with his hand with no problem whatsoever. Ah, fantastical. That's going to be the first seal I'm replacing. Again, there's not really a heck of a lot going on inside of that bit at the moment. There is the little push rod in there when you turn that, and what that does is pushes that needle up. And that is, you use that to clean the little jet hole at the top of the vaporizer. It also switches it off. Obviously as well, there are some seals in that, the little device that does that, and they live behind there. Now I can't imagine for 1 second that there's no way that is just going to undo. That won't have moved for ages. Wrap it in an old sock to give it some sort of protection while I grab it with the pliers. Let's see if we can't get it to shift. I may find myself actually having to use the blowtorch and warm this up a bit. I don't want to have to do that. Oh, that moved. There we go. That moved quite nicely. Vaporizer out the way. Stiff, which you can't expect it to be. So I've got the twisty handle off, and there is a little retaining clamp just on there. I don't know if you can see it. That's really supposed to stay inside of the plastic twisty handle, but like I say, this thing's pretty old. I can get that off. Here's where we wiggle and fiddle. This is where it comes off and I flirt it across the garage, never to be seen again. There's the space in it. There it is. Come on, you little devil. There we go. Right, let's pop that back inside of its little plastic handle where it lives, so as I don't lose the beggar. That's where it's supposed to be. In you go, little devil. Thank you. Magic. So, extreme close up of my arm there. Right, now we can take this cap off and get to one of the first seals. There we go. Just check that's still doing what it's supposed to. Yep. And the first seal is tiny little rubbery jobby right in there. And you can see it, really dinky one. La-di-da, new seal kit. Magic. Where are you, my little devil? Let's say it was that. Oh, little tinky thing. Trouble is, this seal kit is actually for a couple of different types of lamp. Right, let's get this beggar out. So firstly, let's just poke the new seal back out. Pop that somewhere, and then dig the old one out. There we go, old seal out. And as you can see, compared to the new one, it's very, well, you can't see this, but it's very firm, but it's also absolutely squished flat. So there's the old one. Look at the shape of that and the new one. It's absolutely squished flat. So this will make a big difference to it. Anywho, I've got to poke that now down the inside of there. Now, on this one, you'll notice that this seal washer is tapered. It's got a thicker end. The thicker end goes to the bottom of this cover cap. It's kind of like the retainer, really. And obviously over time that adds a bit of pressure to it. So, but give me a bit of blue roll, because what I want to do, just to help it all along and keep all this nice and smooth, just keep blast a bit of WD-40 in there, make sure it's clean. Lovely, tiny little seal that is. There we go. Just a splat more to help it locate itself. This is going to be a tricky little devil, getting that to the bottom of there whilst it's flat. And that actually went in a lot easier than the other one came out. What have I got I can poke it with? There's a little tiny Swiss Army knife. Extreme close up on my arm. Tiny little Swiss Army knife, and I'm just going to use the tiny tweezers and poke that in. There we go. Do you know what I'm wondering? I think it might be easier. It might be a lot easier if I put it over the stem first, where it's got some stretch room. That's it. Because it'll have a bit more stretchy room without the cap over it, you see. And then that way, it's not going to tear it on that flat edge there. All folded over the wrong way. Right, that's on. Let's get this back. Which way is it pointing? There's a little slit in there, you see, that has to marry up with the flat piece on the end of there. So, there we go. Which doesn't always want to, as you can imagine with these things. As they are always fiddly. There we go. Move that down, a silly little clamp. See, it's just that sort of way. Ah, there we go. That's got it. It's a lot stiffer. That's a good sign. And we might as well, once we're here, go ahead and get rid of that squished seal there. Because that thing is absolutely squished flat on there. Look at that. Ooh. I'll show you in a minute, because that is flat as you like. Yeah, it's like paper. It's like a wafer of paper. Now that is going to be the big one for the pump, I imagine. I'm guessing that's this one, looking at the size of it, and that one will be for the vaporizer. And as always, whilst we're in there, I'm going to give you a bit of a clean up with some WD-40 and a bit of a cloth. Make sure there's no gritty stuff on it, because that won't do it no good whatsoever. It's no good putting a brand new rubber seal on it and then ruining it. That one's flat and useless. Make sure it's seated nice and flat and past the threads, because if you don't, as soon as you tighten it into the lamp body, them threads are going to start biting at it and possibly split it. So you want to get it as flat as you possibly can, really. Now, a little clean up there. Make sure that's got something decent to set on. Carefully thread that back in. Like I say, keep your eye on your seal as you do. To make sure that it is bedding flat, because you don't want to squash it wrong. It's always worth checking and making sure that your seals are sitting proper flat, because if not, they'll split, and if they split, you've just ruined a seal. You need to get another one, don't you? But the flat, because with the thread, they tend to catch on the thread, and then as you thread it down, you think, oh, it'll make it sit flat. Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it goes in the thread, chews it up. So the flatter you can get it, the neater you can get it all overall. Which, considering this is to seal the thing up. You know, it's a pressure lamp. It uses air pressure to force paraffin or kerosene, whichever one you prefer, up a tiny little needle tube. It's quite a lot of air pressure in there, really. I don't know what the exact count is in PSI, but it's quite a lot of pressure. If any of your seals are nicked or wrapped in a thread, chances are it's going to bleed out of there and not work, because that is the biggest issue with this one as far as I know. This one just blows paraffin all over the damn place. It's leaking like a sieve. No use. Next up, the pump seal. Now this is probably about the simplest of seals to change, because it's quite big on the air pump here. That's what puts the pressure in to the actual fuel tank to send the fuel up in the first place. And as you can see, that is all cracked up and nasty. Now the repair kit does come with the gasket for in the air pump as well, which is basically like a pressed leather cup washer. I'm not going to change it because I just don't need to. The cup washer in that is obviously fine. The pump is working. You can hear it pushing air. It's got good resistance. There's no point changing it if it ain't broken. In fact, you know, that doesn't look awful once that's quite funny. Once it comes off the pump, it doesn't look awful. It looks complete. It looks solid until you put a bit of stretch in it, and you can see it's all chewed as heck. So I could probably just turn that round and use it again, but I ain't gonna do that. As always, get some tissue or something down there, clean out any lumps of old seal that might still be wedged in there. There's no point leaving bits of old stuff in there. That'll only create air pockets and space, and it's not going to seal properly if you do that. So it is a bit fiddly, but get in there as best you can and clean that out. Yeah. Taste of kerosene. As always, a little squirt of WD or equivalent oily stuff just to help it seep better. Good old big boy washer here. Now, because they're new, they're always going to be fairly tight, which is what you want, but this one is going to be a devil to get past these threads. Fill underneath my fingers with Tilley ramp goop. Gone in, but no, that was just my finger making a click noise. So what I'm going to do with this in a minute is I'm going to slowly. First I'm going to give it a prod with these little tweezers, see if I can get it to... Wait, there we go, that's seated. I was going to say, failing that, what I'm going to do is very gently thread it back into the lamp and see if a bit of thread pressure might press it into place for me. It's not so difficult to do on a piece like this that's designed to keep coming out and in, because obviously it's the filler hole as well. But with some of them that are going to be trapped for ages, you do really want to make sure that they're very well seated and not twisted up. This is going to be a swine. Well, it's simple. What it's going to be is time consuming. Because all I'm doing is obviously there's a seal lip in the top of this, and I'm poking it in there basically. All neat, very uniform, pressed into its little groove. Now, proper seat it home, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tighten it up slowly and loosen it back off and tighten it up slowly, and you guessed it, loosen it back off. Keep doing that just a few times just to make sure it is proper seated home, nice and neat. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty much as neat as it's getting. Lovely. Right, onto this next bit. This flat looking thing at the bottom of the vaporizer. Now this is one of the areas where it was proper leaking. It was pouring out of there. And you could tell this thing is so squished. I should really take this little knife off the keys. It would make it a lot easier to use. It's so squashed in there, you can barely tell what's metal and what's rubber. Yeah, and you know, as I'm trying to lift it, instead of it stretching and lifting, it's all just cracking. That's how flat that is. Ew. Kippered. That's it. Try and do it without ruining my little blade. Instantly split again. It has left quite a few deposits of itself, which I'm just going to scratch off. Give that the usual spray of that, and then a wriggle of this. Magic. Yeah, that's all clean now. And there's the new one of those. Oh, that one has been the nicest fitting one yet, and has actually just slid up the thread. Good, very nice. And then on the lamp top itself, I already cleaned that on the top of the lamp stem. And again, I am just going to give it tiniest little squirt of WD just to help it seat itself better. That way, as it's wiggling tight, there won't be friction pinching it, it'll be able to slide into its best position. If ever you get one of these lamps, people are like, oh, the cage is in the way of the switch. Yeah, slide the damn cage out of the way. And there's the needle still there. One eye, something white. Yeah, tiny little needle still there, still functioning. Lovely. I'm not going to over tighten them at all because I don't want to ruin the new seals, and if I need to tighten them up anymore, I can do that later on. So for this lamp, because I know the pump's still intact, that's it for seals really. It was basically just the three. It was weeping out of there, it was weeping from there, and it was weeping out of there. It wasn't actually leaking from there, I don't think, from the actual switch. But I'm not stripping it twice, so I'm doing that all in one. And then that's done, isn't it? Right, all the old seals out the way. Now, the easy bit, the easiest of easy bits. Replacing the broken glass. La-di-da, there we are, shiny new Tilley original glass. Bob's your mother's brother, Fanny's your aunt. But before we can test it, we need to put the new mantle on it. Now, mantle tying can be a bit of an art form. Make sure everything's clean before you do this. Obviously it's always going to be a bit black and a bit sooty, but you don't want loose debris, because once this wick has burned in, you need no messing with it without destroying it, and then you're going to have to just get a new wick straight away, which kind of makes the whole effort pointless if you're just going to keep busting wicks in the bin. Nice cleanish fingers for this. These wicks, I don't know if they still do. I know that they most likely, this genuine Tilley wick, that's not, well, it should be, I got it from a Tilley spare. Sorry, I'm just geeking out over lamps and stuff. I don't know if these still do, but there was a time when these were radioactive, you know, the mantles. I think they probably do still have asbestos and things in them, but there was a time when they were actually radioactive. Pretty sure they're not now. Don't worry about it. Get online, buy yourself a Geiger counter and check out your mantles. Pretty sure they're all right. Now these things can be a bit of a beggar. They're certainly a bit fiddly. The thing is, they're tied on. Now once they've heated up, they pull themselves into shape. Right, and then they pull themselves into shape when you first light it. That's the thing. You've got a bigger ring, which is obviously at the top there. You can see a larger one, and then a littler one that's going to be the bottom. And then what you've got to do is get it to sort of sit as uniformly as you can, because when you first burn it in, that is when it changes shape and goes to that traditional mantle shape. At the moment, it just looks like a Japanese paper lantern. It's perfectly normal, that's what they look like. Granted, if you're new to these sorts of lamps and you get yourself one, first time you do this, you're probably going to kill one. You can get these mantles in packs of 20, 30 of them. It does say on it, it's always better if you use genuine Tilley mantles. Yeah, well, it's going to say that, innit? You know, just saying. Right, fiddly bit. So, this is where you've got to be very delicate and proper fiddly. The bigger ring there, you see there's a groove in it. What you've got to do is get this string that's not particularly stretchy to sit in there. Some of them you tie on yourself as you actually tie the string. Some of them have a little metal clip. This one has a fiddle, which is probably going to make me swear. I'd love to show you this, but honestly, it isn't that easy to show. Now, like I said, once these mantles have been used once, they've been burned at all, you cannot touch them. They will just disintegrate, because what's going to happen is very much like a dead leaf. As soon as this thing's been burned in, it'll go all white and skeletal like a dead leaf, and that skeleton is incredibly fragile. Touch it and it'll just disintegrate. Whilst they're like this, brand new, they are more forgiving. I'm not going to say they're very forgiving. That would be a lie. And naturally, as with anything like this last little bit is always the devil to get on. There we go. That's in, I think. Just check that it's sat in that ring neatly. It's a bit of a widdly job to check. Yep. Yeah, that's in, I can see it. Right. Now this bottom. Don't worry if there's little fluffy bits poking off the bottom of it when it goes on either, because all of that will disappear with its first burn. That is a real tough fit. And again, got to get it in the groove. Lovely. Right, and then what you've got to do, as it says here, is arrange the mantle, which basically is make sure that you've got that flat curve, that flat piece there, Luke, all out like a skirt. Yeah? It's hard to believe, but this thing, after about 20 minutes of being burned, will completely change shape and turn into what you've probably seen on a mantle lamp before, a more traditional mantle, and morph into the shape that it's supposed to be. So we'll pop that back together. Now I need to go and get myself some methylated spirits because we're going to light this little devil. Right, so you're going to need your starter wick. It's basically a little clip thing full of wick. Soak that full of methylated spirit. Leave this open so ambient air can get in and out your pump valve. Don't shut that. Don't ever close that whilst you're storing them. The only time that should be screwed shut and sealed is when you're actually using the lamp, burning it. Because if you don't, what happens is basically ambient temperature warms up the tank. The fuel expands, it starts leaking. Yeah, you can switch that valve off there. I'd rather leave the valve open because if it's off, the needle's up eventually. It just wears your vaporizer out quicker and causes other issues. You're better off using this to stop and start it. Well, I do. I don't really care what anybody else thinks on that particular note. I'll let the air out. It's like, but you're letting vapor out. Yes, but paraffin vapor, unless it's proper, unless it's heated and stuff, it's not going to do anything. It's just, it makes the parts last longer. I knew I was getting completely missball that. That's what you get for trying to do it with one hand. Soak it out the tissue with the wick. See what I mean? I knew I was going to absolutely throw that everywhere. Although to be fair, it's impossible to soak one of these with meths and not throw it everywhere. It's just one of those things. Right. Put the lid on the meths. So sorry, that was just my arm tightening a thread, and then get rid of this meth soaked cloth before I light this, because otherwise the table will catch fire. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to ignite this and stuff it right under there. Now don't worry about that smoke, that's the mantle doing what the mantle do. It will do that because it's a new mantle. See how it's gone absolutely black and crisp and horrible? Perfectly normal for a new mantle. You can already see it changing shape. But we can't light it until it's proper burned in. There's my arm again, coffee. Ugh! Oh, coffee's gone cold. I hate cold coffee. Ugh. I shall come back to you shortly when that is ready to be actually lit. At the moment it's just priming, it's warming up all the tubes and stuff at the top. That's what's going to turn that paraffin into vapor and make it actually flammable, because on its own obviously paraffin is an oil liquid, it's not particularly flammable until it's either on a wick or pressurized. So this lamp boils it and pressurizes it and makes it burn bright white. But we'll come back to that when it's finished doing its thing. On that note, folks, whilst you are burning in your new mantle, it's probably not a super good idea to breathe that smoke in, to be fair. I am in my garage, the door is wide open, there's plenty of ventilation. I don't know what's in it. Like I said, there was a time when these mantles were made with all sorts of stuff. You'd like to think they found better ways, but I probably wouldn't breathe that smoke in that comes off a new mantle, to be fair, if you can avoid it. Not a good idea. So, once you see your flames starting to die off on your pre-burner there, go ahead, tighten up your fuel pump, or your air pump as it is. You can already see the mantle is burning in, changing shape and getting cleaner. It did go all black earlier, now it's actually cleaning up quite a bit, which is perfectly normal. You can also see the green side of Matilda glowing away down there in the light. So you can see the flames are shrinking, it's yellowing up. This can't be far off being ready to light. I like, especially with a new mantle or on a cold day, I give them two runs through on the pre-burner. So I let it burn out, refuel it, do it again. Then you know you're pretty much guaranteed. And now it's time to pump a bit of air in it. Nice and steady at first. Oh, can you hear it coughing? As soon as it is lit in some fashion, get rid of your pre-burner, because that's when it'll really start to carbon the new mantle up. You see how it's pulsing like that? That means there's not enough air in it. Keep gently adding air, because slowly now it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and as it gets hotter it'll burn cleaner, but also it'll change the shape of that mantle to the shape you want. Now there's a couple, well I hope it does, because there's nothing else on earth you can do about it other than let the heat do it for you. So you can see now most of the carbon is vanishing off that mantle, it's self-cleaning. It's holding quite stable at the moment. There are a few outer flames. I have mentioned this before on my bushcraft lighting video. With these lamps, if you're using one of these lamps, if you've got a hole in your mantle, you need to change the mantle, because what happens is you get a jet of flame coming out of that hole on the mantle that you can't see always. Sometimes you can, but quite often you won't see that little jet of flame coming off. And what that jet of flame's doing is concentrating heat on one part of your glass. That's how you end up with that. Even though it is heat treated glass, if you concentrate heat on one area too long, you're causing more expansion in one place than another. Glass is glass, no matter how good it is. That's what you get out of it. This one didn't do it because of that. This one, it was an impact, did that. But by and by, a cracked mantle, that's what it's going to do. It's going to crack your glass for you. And obviously, the glasses are a heck of a lot more expensive than the mantles. So that's burning in quite nice. It's going to be quite yellow for a little while as that mantle settles in. All the carbon's slowly burning off it now. It's changing shape. In a minute, I'm going to give it a jolly good pumping up. Make sure that it's got enough air so as it really burns in right, but you can see no leaks whatsoever, which is good. We don't want leakage. And it was before. It was absolutely pouring paraffin out of every conceivable place where it could get paraffin out of. That's running right. By the look of it as well, I don't need to replace the vaporizer on it. I did get a vaporizer as well, just in case. Don't Don't actually need it for this lamp. I'm not that concerned though, because I have 3 of these that are all in running order. At some point I will need that. The vaporizer, that little tube that goes up into the mantle. These things last a hell of a long time. I mean, you know, 40, 50 odd years if used correctly. But they're expensive and they're getting hard to get hold of. So having a spare ain't a problem. Add a bit more air into it now. Like I say, going gently because everything's new. I don't want to over pressurize everything straight away. There is a specific lighting procedure with an amount of pumps that they do provide with the lamps that I've completely forgotten, because I just go off by ear now and how it looks. I've been using them that long, you can tell. That smells a lot better as well. Oh, it's burning in nice now. It's burning in nice. So that mantle, you can see there is still a bit of a fold in it round there. That will continue to change shape until it goes into that traditional almost pear-shaped looking thing, and the heat will do that all for you. Well, it has to, because like I said, you cannot touch them. On account of the cost of some of these components for these lamps, if you're interested in owning a Tilley lamp, it's worth doing your research for everything, your lighting and all that. But if you are interested in owning one of these Tilley lamps, be very careful where you buy them from. Especially, you know, you can get them on eBay anywhere second hand. There's always somebody there calling it vintage this, vintage the other, la-di-da, and expecting to get a lot of money for it. Now, the problem with that is they're worthless if they're not working, for a start, because the parts are expensive. You can pay between 40 to 60 pound for this piece alone, never mind if it's got weepy seals, broken glass, anything like that. I don't know how much they cost new, but you can still get these made brand new. The last time I looked, they were only like 80 pound or something like that. So if you're planning on going second hand, have a look around first, check what the cost of them brand spanking new is. Same, these are exactly the same. They're still making them, they are exactly the same. Other pressure lamps are still out there, still being made. You know, power cuts, countries without electricity in rural areas, there's still a demand for them. They do still make them. So with any paraffin lamp, if it's particularly second hand, don't let yourself get ripped off. Don't be fooled by that little word vintage, because remember, doesn't matter how old something is, age does not make something valuable. If it's working, it has a value. If it's not working, it isn't worth nothing whatsoever. None of my lamps are broken. Every single one of them functions, and functions perfectly well. Otherwise they simply wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have spent the money on them. And the problem with these ones in particular, if you're buying them second hand, can they be demonstrated as working? Are you in a place where they would light it for you so you can see that the vaporizer's functioning? You'll know when the vaporizers aren't functioning. They burn a horrible orange. Like this, it'll get brighter and brighter now as it gets hotter, but you'll notice when the vaporizers are going, they'll burn dirty, they'll smell, the flame will be more orange. They might even have little licks of flame coming out the mantle at the top, and that means a broken vaporizer, which, like I said, that's potentially 30 or 40 odd pound. Which frankly, if you're buying them second hand, if the vaporizer doesn't work, they're worthless. You've got a spare fuel tank and a cage and hopefully a glass. That's what you've got out of it. Parts like the tops, the caps and stuff, they can be found for 20, 30 pound. It's not, in my opinion, unless you know what you're doing with them and you know how to test them, it's perhaps not worth buying a second hand one, when you could get second hand ones that are brand new in boxes on eBay that people have bought years and years and years ago for power cuts. They've sat in a pantry for 20 odd years, they've never been touched. I personally don't touch these second hand because of that fact. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but Dan, look how old these are, there's no way you've had them from new. You are right, no, but I was given all of these, so I didn't pay anything for them. It's the only reason I took them on at the age they were, is because they were free, and I'm like, yeah, I don't mind spending money on them to get them running when they didn't cost me anything to start with. Had I, however, spent 60 odd pounds on this on eBay, got it and found out it's weeping paraffin everywhere, the glass is cracked and all of that, I wouldn't have been super keen on that idea. I'd feel ripped off knowing that when I had put it back together, what I'd actually got was still a really old lamp that I'd paid new money for. And you know, I have this every time I go down the local market and they've got the tool stores and they're like, vintage hammer. Shut up, shut up. A hammer is a hammer is a hammer. Does it knock a nail in? Yeah, it's a hammer. I don't care how old it is. You don't, I mean, there might be somebody collects hammers, hangs them on wall. I mean, I've got a bit of a collection of axes. I use every one. The point is, it's a tool, and the value of a tool is, does it work? Yeah. So there we have it, folks. What once was a broken down old leaky thing that was basically given to me free from some old chap's shed is now a fully functioning Tilley lamp. These things are brilliant for all sorts of bushcrafty stuff. Not only are they bright, I mean, they're about, depending on a few factors, they're about as bright as 40 to 60 watt light bulbs. Yeah, now I know we've swapped to lumens. I've no idea what that equates to in lumens. I'm still old school, still working in watts, still working in feet and inches as well. But they're many, many, many times brighter than a standard paraffin lamp. Excuse me. They'll run for absolute hours on one full tank. I'm not sure what the actual proper run time of them is, but when I've been out camping with them, I've never ran them dry, so you get a lot of run time off one tank full of fuel. More importantly than that, you get over a kilowatt of heat out of the damn things as well. They give off so much heat. In fact, it could be argued sometimes that they're a better heater than a light. I've boiled water on the top of them many, many, many times. In fact, it's roasting my face right now being this close to it, and the longer they run, pretty much the warmer they get. So this one's just going to get warmer and warmer and warmer now, but it is a fully functioning Tilley lamp. This first time I've ever had this one running, because like I say, it's been leaking, and I've probably had it a decade. The other two work, you see, so how many do I need in one hit? But the other day I saw it and thought, yeah, I'm going to put that back together. The only trouble now, I can't actually stop it running until its mantle has finished its changing shape and gone to the shape it should be. So I'm going to sit here with a lamp, let it burn itself in all nice and neatly. I appreciate this probably isn't the most exciting video to a lot of people, unless you're particularly interested in this sort of lighting, or if you're looking to get a lamp like this. So if you've stuck through it this long, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience, because like I say, it's not the sexiest of videos, this. We're not in the woods building, cooking or doing anything like that. But part of bushcraft is, of course, maintenance, maintaining your tools, your equipment, your axes, your knives, everything like that. If you don't keep on top of that, keep them clean, keep them sharp, then they're going to let you down. Same with these things. If you don't keep them running, you've not got them. And you know, stepping aside from bushcraft for a moment, having these things around is always handy. Imagine a power cut. I can not only can I see, but I've got heat. Lots of heat. Always good. So my apologies if you were expecting a slightly sexier video this week. There will be more things coming. The truth is, I'm actually in the middle of quite a large video as well. I won't give away the secret, but there's something quite big coming up that's at this rate going to end up having to be a multi-part video, but that is taking up a lot of my time. So if you're wondering where's Bosun Dan been, I am working on YouTubey stuff. It's just, what a mission. You'll see when that video is done. You'll see, like, mark my words, it's been a faff, and we're not even halfway there. Anywho guys, I'm going to stop waffling. That's all I need to say for this particular little video. I will get back to you all very soon with more. Please like, share and subscribe. Try and convince more people to become paraffin nerds like me, and I will catch you on the next one. And that is all from Bosun Dan for today.